The Sharks, they became guppies in Game 2, and NUTURN took control from the beginning. And I have to say, I'm engaging in some very lively debate with Sean Gears and Mike's HD on Twitter. Mike's really feels like he's enjoying the moment. So hopefully Sharks can turn it around so that he doesn't rub it in my face. But Veli, it seems like this control, this presence by NUTURN started basically from the beginning on Bind.
It did. It definitely did. But there's something I definitely want to talk to, and I would like to talk about the level of respect that NUTURN is definitely giving YNG Sharks. I was watching VOD the other day, and I believe it was NUTURN versus Dalmon Gaming Kia, right? And the one interesting thing that they did, and Kilios, I want to ask you this. The first round, basically classics, you put a Frenzy in Alau's hand, right? Because he's Jet. Then the 2 rounds after that, they just picked up Sheriffs because of just confidence, and then Rifles round 4. We're not seeing that at all today. What could be the reason of that? Could it be unfamiliarity with the meta or just playing it safe?
I think it might be less unfamiliarity with the meta and more so on the teams that they're playing against, and also being down a map. I think that this is NUTURN showing a lot of respect. You're absolutely right. You know, a lot of times when NUTURN comes out, if they win a pistol round, they'll stick with the Sheriff and they'll just carry on with that gun throughout because they say, okay, you know what, we can outfrag these guys. We'll just keep these in our hands and then we'll just rack up this enormous economy that we can use in case we drop, a round down the line. But we're not seeing them do that. We did see them do a Force, which was a very bold move, not something that NUTURN typically goes for. They do usually go for, maybe the Sheriff and a half armor, but never really, picking up SMGs and armor and whatnot in the second round after losing the pistols. So that was really surprising to see, but it paid off dividends. They got on an amazing streak after that.
Well, as we go ahead and take a look at the Prime Gaming post-match highlights, this is going to be, everyone, a very Achilleos-heavy analysis segment because the boy's been waiting for his time, and it seems like NUTURN, well, their time was now. They shined. They pulled a little John Cena here, Achilleos.
No, I mean, they really did. This was, I'd say maybe more of like an RKO. They came in from behind,
like
after that first map. You didn't know that they were going to be able to turn it around like this, and they came out swinging. They dropped that first round, they get the Force, and they just started tearing the Sharks limb from limb, or fin from fin, I guess you should say, and it was unrelenting. They were barely able to pick up any additional rounds after that, and this is just NUTURN getting back into their stride, finding their pace, finding their cohesion, and playing as a unit, which was severely lacking in the first map.
And now we're going into the map 3, which is going to be Ascent, and this is it's kind of hard to say exactly how it's going to look because there's so many changes. We're going to see Solo on Killjoy, most likely, because there was a break where the teams were working on their compositions and the map strategies and so on, but I'm going to assume Solo's going to switch to the Killjoy on this map. Then on Shark's side, there was actually a map where we have seen Gabishis on Yoru. And maybe, who knows, we're going to see this as well. There's a lot of room for Sharks to actually take... I think everyone is ready for that, especially Sean Garrett, right? So that'll be amazing to watch. But Sharks has a very, let's say, on the tag on this map, they have this. Every single lane is covered by them. They play very heavy default on Ascent, on attack, but at the same time, they have heavy presence on A short and mid, which is something that we don't see from NUTURN on defense. They typically push from garage from B main and from A lobby. So there's like a huge clash of styles right now on Ascent, and watching tapes is going to be important.
Yeah, well, guys, we are going to have so much more to talk about, but it's now time to jump into Game 3. Let's send it over to Doug and Riv, who have the call. Gentlemen, take it away.
Ooh, baby, it's Game 3. It is time. The clashes of styles have been so good, and they all come down to Ascent. It's good on good for both teams. Riv, I don't think anybody expected this to get to map 3, right? But Sharks have impressed, NUTURN have impressed, and now we're going to see both of them on maps they're comfortable on. There's no telling how this goes.
NUTURN brought out the pride of Korea last game. They really brought it all onto the table. They did not want to go out like that in a 2-0. We got to see Sharks as well. They were a little beached on that one. They weren't able to get themselves moving around. Not enough fluidity in what they were doing. Okay, I'll stop. But no, honestly, we've seen both teams adapt. We've seen both teams show us new things. And it's not like their defense is were infallible, right? Their defense has adapted a little bit. Sharks was still able to attack NUTURN's defense. The same thing happened on Bind. Now we're on Ascent. We're on a map where most of the executions happen right in your face. It's very fast. You can get up to B Garage, you can get right up to A Long. NUTURN loves to hold A Long for themselves for the priority of the round if we see Astra being the pick over there. So seeing what happens with that and how we will get Sharks playing around it, I did not see Sharks using too much mid-ground on Ascent, which I think is very important. So if they start doing that again, I mean, they're just turning over every leaf on this. So I don't know what to expect from both of these teams, and I love that.
As we get moments and moments closer to Agent Select, one of the things we have to keep in mind is for NUTURN, while they have played this map a considerable amount, they have recently changed their approach as far as competition goes. As I mentioned that, of course, we're popping over to Agent Select, presented by our friends over at Prime Gaming, and there it is. Yes, indeed, Parry on the Astra. That's a recent adjustment out of them.
It really is. They have a lot of different things they'll flex to, but they feel like with what we see, their Astra on A hold, Suggest will play Cat. He'll focus a bit of that defense. And this is where I get the note that Parry and Suggest just have this like absurd life expectancy because they're always grabbing info, they're doing things. You're gonna see Solo kind of creeping around, doing his own thing out of B on defense, and I'm excited to see what Sharks bring here, because if you are an aggressive team, Ascent is a great map to be aggressive on.
Yes, indeed. We see Sharks starting off on attack, and then, of course, it's actually NUTURN, who are taking some real estate early on, and they've done so absolutely quietly. There's the flash out of, yep, there it is, and the kill's gonna land as well as Light drops. Allows taking so much space away. Fraz is sitting duck. He's gonna drop as well, along with Denaru. It's a bloodbath over by Tiles, as so much pressure is exerted from NUTURN. I mean, that was gorgeous. A flawless round by Prime Gaming to start things off, and what more could you possibly ask for if you're a fan of Korean?
Wow, that was intense. That was fast. It was so fast, two of the teammates don't even have assist on them. And Lakia and Solo, I believe, over there. So what a round coming out firing. Expect Sharks to be a little timid here on their heels the next few rounds. Yes. And we'll see what comes of this. But NUTURN, literally out of the gate, off the rip, just want headshots, and that's what we saw out of him. Spectre buy from Solo there, as he's probably going to do a little bit of solo work himself, no pun intended, but you'll see him and Lakia work the site here, picking up 2-3 Ks, as they just do not let that site go down.
You see the shock dart off the cue of the sound from picking up the orb, pushes him off, and now they can take some of that space back. That ult orb should still be up for grabs. So some early exchange of utility, you see the priority that both teams are willing to put around both the gathering and the denying of that ultimate orb. So far, Sharks leaning that way. Solo's in a great spot. That ult orb will eventually go in the pocket.
Frozen.
No shock darts anymore. And here we go. Solo. Trigger discipline, good for one. Looking for more, and if it wasn't the Spectre, it was the freaking Nano Swarm as he gets 3, gets 4, a second. Back-to-back, flawless round brought to you by Prime Gaming. NUTURN, I mean, they're scary right now, Riv.
They are, and this is why those rounds are impactful. Honestly, Sharks can come back. There's a bunch of game to go, but you're gonna have to remember how much economy for NUTURN was spent on these rounds. Not much. A lot of util stayed in the hands. Full armor there. So the upgrades are going to come in off of what we just saw was only solos buy. So that was a huge bonus for them. The econ is riding high. And now Sharks is going to have to chip away at a little bit more. Still the same game, just a little bit more to chip away at here, as that was such an econ round for NUTURN. Ew, Allow sits on that. He wanted the shot. He chose to do that, but nobody peeked it. So great job by Sharks to start off with a bit in their favor.
Yeah, great read from Fra. But what do you have to stop Allow here? Ah, the curveball and the Roomba, no! Allow hit it anyway! Oof. A little stop, a little go. Frozen cleans up the utility. The spike is not in the hands of anyone as Sharks look to exploit the middle of the map. They've gotten this far, no alarm bot or any other utility kind of keeping them at bay from Solo, and I mean, it's going to take a little bit. As you see, Denaru is still working his way around, but They're
I
going
love
to
it.
dial up a hit onto B here. They've got Lakia in the back of the site. They also have Solo sitting here.
Look at how they're encroaching as well into spawn. They've worked the mid, Doug.
Yep.
What I wanted to see. Quick TP back out. Frosting coming in with the Odin on the backside of the site, and they have to take it now. It's all about getting the Sova out of Boathouse. Lucky and Solo hold it down. Like I said, it's going to be real tough to take the site from those two.
And Riv, like, there you feel the gun advantage that they had, right? Like, the way they handled their money in the second round allows them to bring that level of firepower into that fight. And you even saw, I know you mentioned this a couple times, that shot was just, that was just disgusting. But you mentioned this a couple times, you and I saw it, it's right here. So Killjoy has this dope setup where the turret is sitting on the back corner and she can play off of that trigger of the turret. So she swings around that, she lines him up and knocks him down. NUTURN are clicking on all cylinders here. Financially, they're in great shape. Salau still has an op, and it looks like he's gonna get a chance at something. No fancy shot through the flash this time around, but enough to make him think about it.
I love this coming from Sharks. All out, rolling through. Prozine goes down. Leitch is going to find himself falling, as well as Solo. Finding shots left and right. He says, me first. Allow says, not just yet. Another Flawless brought to you by Prime Gaming. What a game so far for them. Sharks does seem to be testing the waters in their save rounds. Didn't even mean it, but they're pushing through, right? They're just saying, all right, if we can take it, we're going to take it. And whereas last map, or even the map before, we saw these being very methodical rounds. And I said Ascent is fast because you're right up in people's faces when you're able to engage. Doesn't mean you have to play fast. So I think we're going to see a slowdown here, maybe a 30-second plant round coming back in as things start to change and a little bit more orb focus.
Prime Gaming getting plenty of love this map. And Riv, when was the last time we got 5 rounds, or we hit the 5th round of a map, and a team only has 1 kill? 1, right? There's just been 1 kill out of Sharks this entire time. That's insane.
That is absurd to think about because one, you're not finding every ult point you want as we see the run it back come through, Doug, and they're looking like they want A.
Yeah, and they've left it, right? Like, A's free, it's open, they're comfortable playing for the retake here. I was curious to see if Sharks were going to work their way in through tree to control the back of that site, but no, they haven't managed to get their way in, and you can see Solo's kind of like waiting for it. They expect that to be what they want to exploit. Leitch gets the spike down as Denaru drops a bit of utility to try to push them back. Allow has taken some damage, but that's it so far. This is going to be a spicy retake. The flash comes through. Suggest already takes care of 1. Gapshees is going to drop as well. There's the lockdown as it creates some space, and they have to respect it, right? They don't really have anything to get in there and deny that, so they give that space up. Now NUTURN find their way onto the site. Frost in a great spot. There are 2 still playing back and long. They both drop. Frost left alone. Frost good for 1, and Frost drops. Not able to pull out any of the heroics as NUTURN marches on.
Just util stuffed right now is Sharks try to get in. Everything they throw is either utility, is info denied, or it comes up with a ping they don't want to actually fight against. You know, they're like, oh, well, that means that's Killjoy and a Sky and something else that's just going to crush us down in combo of utility.
Yeah.
So we got a tactical timeout coming out for Sharks now. Things are getting a little out of hand here as Sharks, I'm sorry, NUTURN has seemed to shake off all the cobwebs and have found their groove that is now extending from map 2 into map 3.
They can just do no wrong, Riv. Like, that's now another rifle. Yeah, it just seems that way, right? That's another rifle round that Sharks have been able to dial things up. They even had the run it back where they were trying to exploit tree, and they got some space. They got the spike down, but then there was no counter for the retake. Right? There was nothing that they could do to stop them from fighting back for that site. And even with Fra on the great flank, right? Knowing that his 2 teammates were back in wine, they were in long, they were just kind of stuck back there. Fra was on the great flank to kind of blow that up, knowing that's where the attention was going to be. But even in that, they just get mowed down in wine before Fra even gets a chance to show up. So then he shows up and everyone's looking at him. There's no way for him to have an impact on the play. It's been beautiful out of NUTURN. Achilles must be grinning from ear to ear right now.
I mean, they're looking good. They got to be feeling good. You got a Blade Storm here versus Fraz ult. This is actually a really big round coming in for Sharks. There's not a lot of utility. There's no Raze on the other side. It's a Sova Hunter's Fury that's going to be taking down your ult that is going to get that lockdown out of there. So they have a chance to get it up, and this is a round to start turning around at least a bit of the econ game, because look at the bankroll on the side of NUTURN. A few rounds tarnished, and they're still okay to buy. This is tough. Spectres as well coming in on 3 members. 4. 5? 5. So I can't tell if it's a Phantom at this point. Yeah, Spectres, there they are. And we're going to see what they can do with these ones coming in here.
My goodness, the aggression, Riv. You often see a one-way drop there with the Gravity Well, but they just Gravity Well and they push their way in. Suggesty is able to get one. Yeah, the kill gets traded out, but you're seeing the pace at which NUTURN want to play, and they're not letting up.
And the focus for the Phantom is Gabshis. He takes it. That's where it could provide the most return on investment of taking one down for one. And they'll see how they work this now. I expect the round to go a little bit later. That's going to be good that they see Killjoy. Knowing lockdown is there may be more priority around it. And the info that suggests can grab there, but they have to consider everything. And Lakia hasn't moved. He is ready to rip anybody that comes into B. So you can see how comfortable NUTURN feels even having a man, somebody down here against 4v4.
Now, Lakia is going to get a chance at something because he's reading it, but it's all about how much they bite into this because the spike is still on A, right? That's still where they, well...
That's a call. That's a call out.
That's still where they wanted to go. They're certainly going to reconsider things. Yeah, that spike's going to drop as well. They know everything that's going on right now. Denaru's going to show up along with Leitch. They don't have the spike. They don't have health. At least Denaru doesn't. Leitch has a chance at something special here in a 1v3. Nothing but a Spectre. Nothing. 6-0 for NUTURN.
There was quite a bit of util there for Sharks to get on the entry if Leitch wanted to throw in a smoke or a paranoia. A lot of dry peaks coming in there. 4 kills to Sharks right now as NUTURN has found their groove coming now into the second map, or third map, I should say, second and third. And here we saw it, you know, coming out of the pause, we got to go aggressive, we got to do something. They were able to pick up the Phantom, and that was the Phantom going down. So they did smoke over towards Cat. There just wasn't one that we saw go up towards Heaven here. So it was just a choice in their play. And again, NUTURN seemed to be around the play instead of all in it like Sharks wanted.
All right, slightly different look here, right? They're heavy stacking towards B. We haven't seen this really since, what, round 2?
Yeah.
So this is an interesting adaptation from Sharks. My God. He has already gotten 2. He might get a 3rd. He heard him. Yeah, the orb was there. It's just unreal right now, Riv.
This is just a no situation. Like, you want to be able to gain ground. And Lockie has been doing this from time to time, sorts it out when he needs to, and does it this round to come up with 2. Right? It kind of feels like he said NUTURN can do no wrong at this point as they just try things out. They're kitting, they're connecting. Fraz down to 4 HP. They had that with Gabshis, that's 34. And Light is full fight right now. They're waiting to get Frosten out of this situation. If he could waltz out, he'll be all right. But what do they do from here? A frag would be great. Dropping allows op would be huge, but those are really just chips off the block right now. It's a wall they're facing.
30 seconds left.
I think the one benefit to them is that NUTURN haven't taken space, right? Like they haven't taken any real estate away from Sharks, so there's a little bit of room for them to breathe, right? There's no process of elimination, right? If they've taken long here, if they've taken A lobby, if they've taken the middle of the map, you know that the rotation's coming back. But it looks like they're just going to try to save this out and save some of the rifles. And folks, let that be a sign to you of how dire of straits Sharks find themselves in. That this is where they are at this point. That they're trying to save 3 rifles, down 0-7. They just can't get anything going.
Great kill there.
Was that kill number 5? Yeah, 5. NUTURN have won more rounds than Sharks have kills.
They're not getting the flows, and that's on your Phoenix, right? At a point, you can look at the scoreboard as we watch this again and say, okay, that needs to be run at backs. That needs to be a bit more aggression, the confidence opening shot that you would get from a Phoenix, from a Jet, from a Raze being the first one in, and it doesn't seem like you're getting that. It's a little shaky for Prozine, and he's one that does have that confidence. Like we were saying, Prozine and Light were both Crossfire World Champions. They've been in this situation. They know how to recoup. And we're going to have to see if they can do that to make this a 7-5 or an 8-4, because things are getting a little dire here for the way it's going of NUTURN versus Sharks.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right, Riv. For as brutal as things have been for Sharks, I think an 8-4, you take that, right? Like, that's very much
absolutely.
okay. But Seekers coming out from CEST, you can tell they want to go there. There's the lockdown. Hunter's Fury, presumably to clear things out from Lakia. Yep, there goes the lockdown. And they're going to use a showstopper as well. Perry's in a great spot. Perry doesn't get spotted. My gosh, he's going to mow them down. He's already gotten 2. They never knew he was there. And if it wasn't Perry, it was CEST. NUTURN refused to give up an inch. They don't allow anything in through that door. Another flawless round, courtesy of our friends over at Prime Gaming. An 8-0 statement from NUTURN.
The planning behind that, to then have it thwarted so quickly. The showstopper didn't come through. Sova's ult was up as the Hunter's Fury was achieved quite quickly. Remember, he didn't have that, but he did get 2 frags through the wall just last round to help get him ult points for it. So now he has the Hunter's Fury after a few more frags, pulls up a big impact ult that round, and you can see it's off of frags. Look at the amount of kill rounds there is to defusals or spikes. Or just timeouts rather. It's very, very wild for NUTURN here. Their aim is on, and we talked about how high their headshot percentage is with CEST, Allow, and Lakia being some of the highest in Korea.
Oh, and the thing is, if your Shark starts like that, certainly don't help things at all, right? Like, there's so much pressure, there's no room to breathe. It feels so suffocating right now that right off the bat, you've got Allow doing stuff like that, right? And it's not just at the beginning of the map when you're trying to feel things out. When you try to take a little bit of control, you get a second. Allow almost gets a third there. On to Fra, but Fra manages to stay alive. They don't have the spike. They don't seem to have any intentions of playing around that at all. As Allow has gotten to 3. I mean, that op is singing right now.
Oh, a 4. Oh, he wants the Frenzy last. He actually goes for the Blade Storm. Right-click miss. Frenzy out. Double to the head as he dink downs him. Perry grabs that one actually from behind with the Phantom over the shoulder of Allow. And they continue to take each other's aces, by the way. From Haven over here to Ascent. Another Prime Gaming flawless for us. And we'll see how this one went down to start.
I need a production. I need to know how many flawless rounds we're at. I want to say it's like 5 or 6.
5 or 6
at this point. Yeah, it's just been disgusting.
4,
8? 8?
Wait,
8?
no, they didn't answer you that quick, did they? Holy shnikes.
Oh, 8 in total in the series. Either way, right? Like.
Oh, okay.
NUTURN have been on another level.
They
5
have
this game. 5. Thank you.
And Sharks way back in is slowly there each round. And it seems like NUTURN has already thought about it, right?
Yep.
You have these Sova ult now for Denaru. Can make it. Leitch can really start to distract if he goes Boathouse. If they have a little bit of util grab before they execute. Here again, playing with mid ever so slightly just to see what kind of utility can be pulled out. And they'd have to go versus the intel over at B or the backup retake kind of aggressiveness over at A. And like we said, you'll always get CEST alive. He's in the back, ready to throw out Guiding Lights or the Trailblazer. Nice set of strat here. That's the Dart going over as well, so they can spot, Allow. I love the combo. This is what we need to see from Sharks.
Yeah, it was an excellent setup with the Paranoia and the Dart as well, and the Hunter's Fury on top from Denaru. Perry's gonna get mowed down as Front blasts across the screen, gets dropped. But the Shock Dart's delaying things. The spike now, it's gonna go down. What can Lakia do? Can they keep this perfect game alive? A 2v4, no, she drops. It's just solo. In a 1v4 with a Phantom. But a difficult spot. Now position's been given away as well. And Riv, there were doubts, right? Like there were doubts on whether or not it would happen.
Yeah.
But it looks like Sharks are gonna get on the board.
They need to. And I question what, I got to go back and look at it. Obviously, we just saw NUTURN, Hunter's Fury ult back and really take down a nice strat that Sharks put together. But what was stopping Sharks from doing this before? It's such an aggressive strat. It's nicely played. I think it has a great return because everybody is relatively safe throughout it, because you're either going through blinds or perfect vision with the Sova Dart. So that one just felt like Sharks were all confident in who was watching what corners. The communication was there, and it shows immediately in a play when you see a team do that.
Yeah,
Like,
the setup was just great, right? And it really came off the backs of the paranoia to displace Allow, and then the fight for that area of the map from Denaro's Hunter's Fury. You're right. They saw something. And it really could have just been Allow, right? Because you think about how many times they've tried working their way through there and Allow is taking their faces off.
I mean,
That
hey, it's
could
an
have
op.
been it.
Do we rush it? Yes. You're right, you're right.
All right, what do Sharks have here? What else can they dial up? You hear the run it back has been used from Prozin. He's going to flash. He's going to get some space. But you've got to keep an eye on Solo. Is that Solo? Yeah, Solo's in a great spot again, right? Like, he's still undetected. A great crossfire. Like, just one. Solo gets two. The spike goes down as well. As NUTURN look to continue to put Sharks down, but it drops into a 2v2. Make that a 2v1. Allow has a Phantom. Light looking to get the spike down. Allow quietly working his way around as the spike gets planted. Oh, he's not going to check it. He's not going to check the 50. A couple bullets to the back of the head. Pop, pop. Good night. Sharks get a second.
Sharks are starting to find the groove. The third would be huge. And you see, it's everybody here for Sharks just came online at the end, and it looks like it. The teamwork is there. And it may be late, but you always want to be able to see that from any team in a competition. That you're never down and out. You always have more left in the tank. And it looks like Sharks is giving that last hit right here for the first half. See if they can make it 3, Doug. They do have the weapons and all the util they would need. Let's see if we can get another combo util strat out of Sharks.
Just don't have any ultimates. Allow tanking. Oh no, move out of the way, my man. Try to get me killed. Suggest with the flash, though, again, going aggressively through the middle of the map. It's like a Cobra, right? They're just tightening them around them, trying to suffocate them out. You feel pressure coming in from so many different areas. They've got them on the run, and they're chasing them down.
Oh, my word. Look at Solo. He gets taken out by Lights right away as the Seekers try to pinch in where Sharks is. NUTURN want to make this round count, but Sharks are saying, no way. We've already thought of that. One goes down now from Allow, and it's going to be off the op.
Very good for one as well. Lockie already good for 2. My goodness, a statement made. NUTURN. They just dominated that half from top to bottom, and I want to apologize. I realize it's a Python, not a Cobra, that does the suffocating thing. Cobras are a bit more direct with how they go about things, but either way,
okay, there you go.
The point's the same, right? Like, NUTURN, they dial up pressure at the exact right time. Sharks have no room to breathe here.
Honestly, I think everybody looked for the op going up, because I was like, it's going to be about Allow, and then Lakia and Perry did all the groundwork down right in front of A entry. I don't think that Sharks realized that was going to happen so quick with the double tap on both of them coming out. So it is only 2 rounds. Pistol round becomes even more pivotal now for Sharks here to keep themselves in that upper bracket, to keep themselves in this game against NUTURN.
Silver lining here for Sharks fans at home. If you're keeping up with stats, if you're a numbers guy like I am, they do have a better win rate defensively than they do on the attack. So there's a sliver in there, right? Like, there's a thread of hope that you could hang on, but you hear the ult orb has already been taken from NUTURN in B. They rotate back, considering potentially going over towards A. The middle of the map, they're totally blind to what's happening there.
I love the little combination they have with the turret on the side of Sharks, along with Prozin in mid. Nice little crossfire there that allows Fra to work in B. And then Fra stays there. He's got mid, he's got B, and you can get Denaru to rotate. I love the fluidity of the way Sharks is playing this first round. You always have to stay mobile, and we see now Denaru has leaned towards A.
Light with a great paranoia, but the flash is there to counter things out. Allow dancing around the gen. No, not able to land the shots. As Gabshe's is the one who cleans him up. Looking for a second, gets a third as well.
Spike down.
He has been a thorn in their flesh. A 4th kill. As Perry is left alone. He's got the spike and is hightailing it back to B.
He's out of there. A little Doorbala from Gabshe's there. He comes up, and Perry's going to have to run now. He's on the other side of the map. He will have a star for himself, but that's about it. He's going to have to be praying to the stars for this one. 3v1, and he sets it out. Which one will it be?
The smoke to buy time. Hot hand's not going to land. Perry playing this pretty well. Good for one. Not able to get the second. Gabshis gets the ace. I believe that's the first one of the series. And, well, they needed that one. They needed that one desperately. Riv Sharks get to 3.
Yeah.
Ace.
That's a very, very big one. Now they have a few to keep in their pocket. Is this the time the NUTURN pulls out just all the sheriffs again, though? Right off the bat. We'll see in just a second. Everybody picking up the pace here on both sides of the scoreboard. It's what you love to see. Vandals are here, no blast packs for Gabshis, so you will see a bit of lack on Util, but they should be good to buy up here and feel pretty good about what's coming next. But that was a Vandal, right? Did they go straight Vandal? If you saw him running up there? We'll have to see as we get out of the replay here. But they may want to hold hard distant angles.
Yeah.
And there is a Vandal there for Gabshis.
Reaping the benefits of his ace in the previous round, looking to pile it on a bit more here. Doesn't tag anything. Doesn't land. And it doesn't really land any shots, gets pushed back. As NUTURN turn their attention to A. And man, they're going Riv.
Firing in. That dart didn't really see too much. Not damage onto Light either, but they know where he is. In the middle of the site, he's going to take that fight. And it's a 1-for-1 trade.
Gabshi's trying to hold things down from up top. Has the showstopper here. In a 4v3, they still have the numbers advantage, and the more utility you draw out, things like that, right? Like, that's a win if you're NUTURN, because you know B is entirely open. Lakia has gotten onto the back of spawn, so this ultimate from Gabshis, excuse me, does nothing. Right? That's gone. There's no value there. Lakia understands where the pressure's coming in from. They should be able to get the spike down. The thing is, Lakia only has a sheriff. That makes things very difficult.
Bot, but not enough time to put it down. He wants to try to catch a 1v1 situation before they peek. That's one. He looks for the second. The Naru with the 3K, and it's all starting to come together a little bit for Sharks. These first 2 rounds were necessary, but will they have the building blocks to start taking these gun rounds on the defensive side? That's their side to play on, to be strong on, and we'll see if they can put that defense up against NUTURN here.
And financially, Sharks, excuse me, predominantly Gabshis, but Sharks across the board are in a really good spot because, again, Gabshis had that Vandal. He didn't die, right? So he's sitting on a pretty penny.
That's huge.
He's going to be able, he's going to be able to bring an additional amount of firepower, allocate funds, you know, do whatever you have to in order to keep things spicy. But even that, you see for Sharks, it's only Leich who has a frenzy. There's a bit extra elsewhere. See Fra invested the most, while NUTURN, this is the NUTURN that we know. Light armor sheriffs across the board.
Yep, there it is.
Let's see what they can do.
So just holding for now. If they do decide to shoot it. Okay. Interesting, because you also, I guess it also gives the opponent something to think about. It's like always breaking Sage Wall when it goes down. It's, you know, you always have to have an eye on it now to make sure nobody is there. So that's one thing you can see Sharks don't grab onto, is using an Odin in that situation, knowing somebody could be there. That is something that NUTURN favors, is getting that little frag, 1, 2, 3, to make sure it's more util or position on the map.
You saw Denaru tried to get over to drop the shock dart off of the audio cue of the orb being picked up, but he just showed up late, so they were able to get away scot-free. And yeah, he got some info, tagged a couple of players with his drone, but that's all it was. The thing is, even with the sheriffs here, Riv, this is a really hard site to get into, and Denaru's going to rotate his way back, but there is a good bit of Killjoy utility to work their way through. They know where Fra is. The Nanoswarm, that's key. If you can remove that from the fold, you've got a lot of room to work with. The lockdown's going to be used as well. Oh no, the flash. Brosen's not able to land anything, goes in for double. Got the ult, but that's all he got.
Still a great play, very heady there by Prozine to go in and take that down. He gets another one with the Spectre. He's holding just outside. Here comes the guiding light. Gabshi's not going to be able to see too much off for that. He's Prozine. He's going wild right now. He lives in the light. And this is going to be Prozine once more, as Leich was actually on the other side of that going down. A 3K for him, a 3K for Denaru last round, the 4Ks, and the aces for Gabshi. Like, this is exactly what they need. They needed to turn it on. They needed to keep going hard. And that play I think actually NUTURN gave themselves up a bit early because of a star they placed towards the back of Denaru at the time of taking the site needed to be replaced. So it was called back, time was waited, they replaced it almost in the same spot, and by that time Sharks was there. Great identification of what was going on in the round.
Good call. Good call indeed. Decent, good weapons across the board from both teams. You've got a couple of Spectres scattered in there. But for NUTURN, they've had some tough sledding on the attacking side. And, well, I mean, it's been primarily weapon advantage for Sharks.
Yeah.
But now we're on decently equal footing as they try to work the middle of the map. You see Prozen again in that same little crossfire with the Killjoy turret that you mentioned earlier. There it is. That's the cue. The curveball comes out. Not able to land the kill as Allow gets away.
Damage.
But that's the setup.
We'll see. So re-smoke over onto Cat, allowing a little movement here so Gabshis can get himself into position. NUTURN is really feeling out the map right now, trying to figure out who's where, allow a little bit of movement from Sharks. We actually saw this from Sharks on Haven on the first time. When Sharks was attacking, they would hit something, allow NUTURN to mill about the map. You knew NUTURN was never holding original angles by the time Sharks would be hitting with how much time they were wasting. And that's what kind of NUTURN's doing here. Wait it out. You see Sharks are committing to a site to say, hey, let's at least lean these ways. And then you have a definitive hit. You can power in numbers this site. It looks like they're going to use 3v2 over towards B as it pans out.
Oh, that's such a good hot handset. Delays really any entry. You saw that they had no way. Allow Lakia couldn't get through that, and then the curveball through the smoke lands another one as well as Prozen, then repositions himself onto the site. 12 seconds left. They have to get onto the site. They have to fight their way through this, and so far, so good. Lakia and Perry get a couple apiece. Perry should be able to get the spike down, and now the remaining members of Sharks have arrived. A great dart to expose where Perry is. Gravity well, he's just a sitting duck. Gabshis is as well. NUTURN take the round back.
And that's what we expected there. The round goes long, power in numbers, death ball through the situation. And whether or not you're guaranteed to have better numbers than the other team, you're guaranteed to basically only have the people and utility you're seeing immediately. So you can instantly take the fight and know and assess what's going on. There, NUTURN was able to pull the 3v2 as it was only 2 members of Sharks in B.
Very, very good setup. Now we find NUTURN back in a comfortable spot, right? And I say that they've had a comfortable lead for a little while, but Sharks have been able to slowly claw their way back into the things, and it's been primarily off the back of Gabshis and things like that. Denaru using the Hunter's Fury, just narrow.
Oh, that was real close. Where did they go? Just hanging out for the time being. Okay, so drone sees him. That'll pause things for a little bit more. Oh no, Hunter's Fury. That'll activate things, knowing maybe where the other Sova would be with that drone coming out. And it's going to be a slight play towards A.
No, it's a fake. It's a fake. It's all a fake, right? They invested the Hunter's Fury. They invested the Seekers, but Solo was on the entire side, but Prozen was in a great spot, holding down the middle of the map, spots the lurk, and gets the spike. Prozen is sitting on gold. Right now, the problem is he is the most wanted man in the server right now. They know where he is, and he's getting pushed in from all directions. He does eventually drop. They should be able to pick up the spike, and it's going to be a foot race to get to B.
2v2 as we come in, pretty tattered and hurt. Leitch is only 30 HP, so 155 stands for the side of Sharks. If you're added up, and a little bit healthier on the side of NUTURN. Utility is there in the Trailblazer, so they can get themselves in, but it's just one smoke and a shock bolt for the side of Sharks. Looks like they're going to try to work together here instead of the 1v1 smart play, as they'll be able to find one person in the site, and this is going to be big. If Lakia comes back in time, there it is!
Lakia was key there, and you could see it. The writing was on the wall. If he stays alive, if they don't clear out showers, they're going to get blown to shreds. And you said it, Riv, like you spoke that thing into existence. As soon as the timing passed by, as soon as they knew where Suggest was and they focused in on him, Lakia shows up, hits him with the haymaker to get NUTURN to map point, to series point, and to threaten to push Sharks down to the loser's bracket.
Honestly, Sharks have shown quite a bit, and whoever's there, if they go down, it's not there yet. That's going to be very, very dangerous games to play against. Sharks will be very aggressive and fighting hard. 12-5 here. They're focused on this right now. These rounds could be the ones that matter for them. A quick last pack out. Gabshi saves all the rest of his util from going down there as Solo is just on his heels. We do have a Bulldog and a Stinger with a Spectre on the side of Sharks, so they're trying to pull out what they can. And Prozine wants to be aggressive with the ult. He doesn't find one there. Great job coming out of Fra.
And really great job coming out of NUTURN. You see there was no way that he walks out into the middle of the site without almost everyone on the team seeing him.
Yeah.
Right, Gabshi's has already dropped. Excellent counter to the run it back, but Prozine's still in a good spot. Well, he was until Solo happened. That's another one that drops as NUTURN continue to creep closer and closer to finishing off Sharks, to finishing off this series. They're gonna get on to B with relative ease. Fra's the last remaining member on the site. He's gotta go big here. Well,
About hits, Fra goes down. Leitch doing what he can.
You should run.
And he should run. But he wants to run at. He will deny that call. Ooh, there it is. Suggest and allow are the ones to see it happen. Another flawless for you, Doug. Brought to you by Prime Gaming. And that is the map win for NUTURN Gaming.
I mean, for it to end on a flawless round.
On a flawless.
Of all things, right? Just like poetry. You can't make that stuff up. And I think for NUTURN, the first map was spotty, right? Like it was scary. Sharks looked really good. They were playing with swagger. They were kind of pulling them around the map. They were fighting into what NUTURN was throwing at them, and they handled it just fine. But after the first map, Riv, it was night and day, right?
So
like this is. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please.
I was just gonna say, this is what we expected from both of those teams, right? Like the map 2 and map 3 are what the film suggested. That's what the film showed, and that's what we got.
Seeing that play from Solo there on Cat, knowing it was a raise on the other side, just aggression. You could eat a nade there. You could eat a Roomba there. That's such a tight spot to be playing against the Raze. And honestly, seeing Raze is interesting as well, because it seems like on Ascent you can always dodge and get away from what she wants to provide for you, but the showstoppers were really what were able to help a little bit in that. When it comes down to it, at the end of the day, with Lothar guessing right in the 2-1, my take on it is that that was adaptation from NUTURN.
Yeah.
They understood how their opponents were playing. They knew who liked to play in what situation, how they might play that situation, and that allows you to extend into, is this 1v1 okay to take? Have they been good at 1v1s? And you start to compile that information about your opponent, and you can almost read just about everything they do once you see that one person. Oh, they've been doing this around. So really, really mentally thought out from NUTURN. I think they figured out who their opponents were in Sharks after that game 1, and they brought it to a 2-1.
They did.
Great
They
game
did
for both
indeed.
teams.
It was, but they are going to advance. Sharks showed some semblances, right? Like some brief flashes of brilliance, but it was just not enough for the Korean squad as they take care of things in rather handy fashion the first map. Notwithstanding, folks, we're going to cut to a very quick break, and when we return, the desk is going to break down everything that we saw. You're not going to want to miss it. Don't go anywhere.
legitness. Yeah. That was legitness. Yeah.
Oh, they had us in the first half. Not gonna lie, NUTURN really turned it around. I'm so proud of myself for that one. In that one, and they came out victorious for the last series of the day. I got my analysts here standing by, Veli, Achilleos, and Lothar. I mean, look, man, I feel like the name NUTURN, you kind of just got to go for it. Got to make the dad jokes happen.
Yeah.
You know, just embrace it. Just embrace what we are over here, okay? Anyway, you know, speaking of dad jokes, Lothar, let's actually talk about how this NUTURN team, you know, pun intended, but no pun intended, right? Like, they did really turn it around. This was a squad that we were very much questioning after game one. But Lothar, they've had some stupendous plays, and it comes down to their retakes and how they play the game and how they've evolved throughout this series.
Like the signature plays that we have seen in Korea were invisible on map 1, but map 3 it was beautiful. Here, this retake on A side, beautifully played by NUTURN. They knew exactly that there will be people on A short, so they baited them on that A short by using the lockdown. They hold it beautifully. They basically, everything was just dismantled by NUTURN here. Everything was planned out. The intent was there for every single use of utility, but also for all the angles they had. And it was beautiful to watch, and there was not a single moment when someone was just dry picking from NUTURN. You know, they were always just going in tandem, like in the body system. The pistol round, when they just rushed through Garage B with the flashes, it was beautiful. Always beautiful to behold. This is how I basically was watching Korea in VODs. This is how it looked, you know, this map.
Yeah, and that was something that was a little bit lacking, you know, for sure on Haven. I mean, you think back to like Allow going forward to the Blade Storm out at C Long on defense, rushing, and he was disjointed from solo. They didn't have to flash out on Long for him to go out and try to get some picks, and it all just kind of fell apart. Both of them end up dying. That cohesion started coming back through on Bind, and then we saw it on full display here, especially on Ascent.
Yeah, well, a partner that got a lot of play throughout this series was our dear friends over at Prime Gaming. This time, though, we have our match highlights presented by Prime Gaming. And Veli, NUTURN really, they just, it felt like Sharks just couldn't stop them. They couldn't figure out the recipe for success. The recipe was a pumpkin pie. They were out here trying to make an apple pie. What the heck was going on?
The recipe was basically whoop they butts, man. So there was a lot of talk about Brazil being aggressive, right? We stereotyped that playstyle with the region. So what did NUTURN do? Round number 1, they took that aggression and sent everybody middle. The YNG Sharks had no idea what the heck was going on, man. But it wasn't even that. So on Ascent, whenever you pass the enemy lines as an attacker, sometimes it's too late and you're gonna have to do your best to defend that site. Well, YNG Sharks tried that. They pushed through middle. We saw the Astra smoke cloud and they wanted to execute into B. But there was a big reason why they weren't able to. Sitting in the back with an Odin was gonna be Lakia, and he was able to mow down, I believe it was 2 to 3 people, and basically the aggression and the pace was controlled all by NUTURN. I'm gonna tell you now, Golden Boy, Achilleos told me this a while ago. Korean team scared me, man. We got to put some respect on their name because the way they're looking, they look like the best team that we saw today.
You know, I'm just going to be upfront. Like, this narrative that Korean players don't play FPS games, like, we got to stop, yo. All right? Like, real
They're
talk.
nasty,
They
man.
do. All right? I've been, me and Achilleos have been watching them for years dominate in Overwatch. We're seeing it here as well. Come on, man. Like, they are good. Let's just put that narrative to bed for a moment here. But something that I love to do is, well, I love to talk about the high speed of Verizon. That's right. For a Verizon high-speed moment of the match, NUTURN actually, they looked really good on their pistol rounds, and they were flawless, I believe, Achilleos is the right word to use.
Yeah, they were. They were Amazon Prime Gaming flawless. It's Prime Gaming flawless here at the end of it all. I mean, they completely caught Sharks off guard with this play. They go charging out, you know, a pinch from mid, a pinch from short, coming out through B main into lobby. The blinds flying through from Suggest were absolutely perfect, completely caught them off guard. And that was just one of very many flawless rounds that ended up coming through. They got 9 flawless rounds throughout this series. 6 of them were in that last map. That is 46.2% of their round wins on Ascent as flawless rounds. That is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I'm actually tight that you brought it up because I wanted to bring up the 46%. That is a wild statistic when you really think about it. And it just became like such a joke with all of us here in production. We were like, man, if they actually would have stopped and they would have been at 7, it would have been a prime number of prime gaming flawlesses. That would have been absolutely prime to see throughout the day. It was getting absurd. But Veli, what I do think is interesting about all this is that Korea now, you know, they are going to be moving on in this competition and in the upper bracket portion. And I think a lot of people are certainly going to be taking note. But, you know, NUTURN has to ask himself the question, what happened in game 1?
They were warming up. Achilleos actually tweeted it was just a warm-up map. And to be completely honest, we have to give it the benefit of the doubt, Golden Boy. This is the first time ever their playstyle was matched up against somebody from Brazil. We don't see this often. It's kind of like when the Sonics finally came to NA and we had that matchup against Sentinels. Yeah. This is all new. They had to fill each other out. But the moment they did, you saw that flip switched on Ascent. That first round that Achilleos highlighted, that was everything to them, man.
Yeah. And Lothar, while I'm over here covered in my smoke, you know, I did want to get your reactions to Sharks because you know this team had a very, very bombastic start to this competition. They fizzled out 100%. But what are some of the takeaways that you think Sharks could take here going into the lower bracket? As I'm sure you know they will live up to the name of being Sharks in the water.
Well, I would say that the first map that I played was actually really pristine, and I'm a little bit surprised that we didn't see the same approach on the other maps. It feels like if you remember Bind on the pistol round, first round of Bind, it actually started for Sharks perfectly. It seems like they do their homework. They read NUTURN with the pistol round where the breach just flash and Jet Dash were going into lamps, and that was the Toxin Cloud of the Snakebite setup to just punish that. So I believe that Sharks is doing everything correctly to be set up for success. But the problem is it might be a little bit, you know, still. This is me just guessing, right? I'm not in the heads, but I feel like there still might be some confidence problem when to just lock down games, right? They had a really explosive start, but once they start crumbling, their nerves might be coming in, and this is something they're lacking. So getting this first match out might be important.
Yeah, I mean, playing on LAN, you know, in the first international tournament, I don't think the importance of that can be overstated or stated enough. I mean, this is the first time that we're having international competition clashing. They're in the same room. They can look across the way and see the people that they're getting ready to play against. You know, that adds so much pressure. So if you are a streaky team, as soon as that starts slipping out of your hands, all of the other added elements can really apply that extra bits of pressure that cause you to crumble. So I'm still hopeful for the Sharks in the future as they do fall down into the losers bracket. I thought that they showed us pretty good fundamentals overall. Gobshis for sure, like good God. If they can just play to enable him all the time, then I think that they'll find some more success because he was just nutty pretty much throughout this, but especially on that first map.
Yeah, well, for right now, we'll put a pin on the remainder of this game, but it's been a wild day of Valorant competition. We've had a blast watching each and every game that's taken place, and so many players showed their strength today, but one rose above the rest, and that's going to be Fnatic's Durka is our player of the day today for his performance against Crew Esports. And Lothar, why was he the obvious choice?
This guy just opens up space everywhere. It's insane. You know, he's being supported by the entire team. Fnatic is just always there to make sure he has, you know, if in case he fails with that headshot, he's always being traded. But this guy doesn't miss. You know, he's nuts. He's absolutely nuts. 16 first bloods. Are we seeing this? 16 first bloods in one best of 3, right? So
yeah.
It wasn't even a best of 3. So
I was gonna say 2 maps.
Right? Durka is one of the most consistent entry fraggers in EU scene, and he showcased that on his first international LAN.
Yeah.
Like the consistency is just insane on this guy.
Yeah, and we have plenty more to talk about, but let's actually also discuss, you know, our HyperX Reflex moment of the day, because we've had some really, really fun moments, but this one in particular, you really wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, there was just overall insanity throughout here, and we're gonna take a look at Lakia getting ready. He's going for the setup here. He's got the Odin in hand. Yeah, this is the Odin play.
No.
And I mean, he just gets the audio cue. The dart doesn't go through, so he doesn't actually even spot them. He just mows down off the audio cue, and it's just hugely impactful. I mean, you can see Gobshish's HP there as well, knocking him down to 30. Decent little chip damage on the front. So it was just a huge moment for Lakia to be able to rip them to shreds.
Yeah, he heard the cue, so he knew exactly where he needed to aim. And, you know, Lothar, Achilleos, I'm so used to working in a studio environment where you guys are going to be next to me. I didn't realize I didn't tee you up for it, Papa. So I'm so sorry about that. But, you know, yeah, man.
Right. I'm a big boy.
I get one, you know, little screw up. And then that's it for the rest of the week. So be ready, people. It's going to be flawless. By Prime Gaming. Nailed it. So
Got him.
now, let's actually zoom out for a moment and take a broad look at the competition. Veli, you know, we've settled on what is it going to be? Fnatic versus Sentinels. That's going to be taking place, and then we have, I think it is actually we could probably take a look at the bracket here. Thank you so much, production, for being amazing and bailing me out. So yeah, so Fnatic will be facing off against Sentinels. We will have the Vikings going up against X10, but then NUTURN, they're moving on and awaiting the winner of Team Liquid versus Version 1. Veli, this is going to be shaping up to be some wild games.
Let me paint a picture for you. Coming into this event, and we saw the tweets and we saw the articles. All the talk was about NA versus EU. It was even in the NA hype trailer. I know Pansy was like, yo, no, this is ridiculous. But the one team that we should really be focused on is the one that's above the rest. It's going to be NUTURN, right? Team Liquid versus Version 1 is going to be a beautiful game, but I'm really interested to see what the Vikings are going to bring as well. We still have a series from 2 teams that we haven't even seen play yet. So the next day of Valorant action is going to be ridiculous. But also, there was a piece that Shazam sent out, a piece of content, where they were asking him about, hey, what should we expect here? You know, comp lineups or whatever. Shazam says, what you saw Masters 1, you know, the playoffs to get here, is literally nothing like you're going to see when we get on stage this event. So, GB, I'm ready, man.
Man, look, dude, you talk a big game, you got to show up, right? Achilleos, that's what's important. And I think that a lot of people are looking at this bracket and thinking to themselves, well, one, we're finally going to get this NAEU. It was set up for it. It was in the script. We nailed it. So proud of everyone for getting the script right. But now, you know, I think NUTURN, Achilleos, kind of has, you know, I think a lot of people got to be paying attention to them because they look like the team that can adapt like that after, you know, being handled the way that they were in Game 1 and looking so dominant. They're scary, man.
No, they absolutely are. And this is what I've been saying for so long, since we started back in Stage 1, Challenges Week 1. I've been talking about Korea as a region. Then, the narrative was primarily around Vision Strikers, but NUTURN very clearly are the best representative. And the stability to be able to bounce back after losing 5-13 on the first map. Grant, also worth noting, every single map in the series was 13-5 as the scoreline. But being able to come back and be that dominant 2 maps in a row is just an immense showing of mental fortitude, as well as the efforts from Solo. We were talking about this during the pre-show before this match. Solo is the foundation. He is the anchor for this squad. He keeps their spirits up. He knows how to temper them. He knows how to keep this roster focused in on the game. And it's just that, decade plus of experience being an FPS player that he has that is really helping push this team to the limits. And now we get to see it off the bat, either NA or EU versus a Korean squad in the upper bracket. That is insane, and I just cannot wait to see that matchup to see who is going to be able to come out on top. Because if NUTURN wins, I am going to be insufferable on social media.
Yes, you will.
Everybody watch out. Mute me if you have to, but I'm going to be calling out everybody who doubted, everybody who said, oh, Korea doesn't aim good. I'm coming for you.
Oh, boy. It's... I love it. He's that guy. He's going to have the Korean flag on his chest. He's going to be spinning out there, going nuts like a psychopath. You love to see it. It's like I appreciate it, Achilleos. Now, though, we actually do have Dash, who's standing by with Solo in our Verizon post-match interview. Let's head over to Iceland.
Thank you so much, Golden Boy. I'm here with Solo after an intense series that went the distance against the Sharks. So we're going to talk about each of the games and maps in just a moment. But before we get to that, I'm curious. There was a lot of conversation about difference in style, Solo, between your team, NUTURN, and the Sharks coming into it. Did you perceive a similar difference in style? And if so, how do you feel it played into the match?
네, 그 뉴턴 게이밍과 샤코가의 스타일 차이가 되게 많을 거라고 판단이 됐었었는데요. 솔로 선수는 이 스타일 차이를 어떻게 보고 계셨는지 좀 답변 부탁드리겠습니다.
일단은 저희가 브라질 팀이랑 해본 적도 없고 처음 해보는 거니까 긴장도 많이 했고 스타일이 어떨지 몰라가지고 약간 저희는 좀 천천히 하는 그런 플레이를 했어요. 네.
We were pretty nervous because we had never played a team from Brazil, so we tried to play it slow and take it one at a time.
Well, and we saw that first map did not necessarily go your way. On Haven, it was a 13-5 victory for the Sharks, and so it didn't look good. At the end of that map, I'm curious what the team discussed and identified as the major problems that you needed to solve going into the second map.
첫 번째 맵 헤이븐에서는 13대 5라는 점수로 조금 좀 세게 졌었는데요. 혹시 어떤 문제점들이 있었는지 이 경기 들어가기 전에 어떤 것들이 논의됐었는지 좀 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
1경기 할 때 저희가 이제 세계 대회가 처음인 선수들도 있고 저도 진짜 오랜만에 나오는 거라서 긴장을 한 것 같아요. 저희 멤버들 전부. 그래서 커뮤니케이션도 잘 안 되고 뭔가 저희가 준비했던 것도 잘 안 돼서 진짜 너무 쉽게 진 것 같아요. 상대방이 잘했던 것 같아요. 네.
We have some players on our team who have never been in an international tournament, and even for myself, it's been a while since I've been in an international tournament. So I think overall we were pretty nervous, and I think we have to give credit to Shark because they played pretty well.
Well, that's interesting that you talk about for some of the players on the roster not having an incredible wealth of experience, while players like yourself have had a lifetime in the competitive esports scene. So I'm curious what you think, that kind of combination of experience across multiple different FPSs allows this team as you warm into the tournament.
어떻게 보면은 팀에는 좀 다양한 FPS 게임에서의 경험을 가지고 있는 선수들이 있잖아요. 그래서 이런 경험들이 이 대회에서 앞으로 경기를 치러 나가는 데 있어서 어떤 영향을 줄 것 같으세요?
일단 제가 전 종목들이 이게 발로란트랑 거의 흡사해가지고 제가 전략을 짜든 뭔가 어떤 플레이를 선수들한테 가르쳐 주는 게 제가 알고 있는 모든 기억, 뭔가 좋은 플레이들은 잘 알고 있기 때문에 발로란트에 접목을 시키면 확실히 좋은 것 같아요. 다른 종목에 비해 그 전 종목이 발로란트랑 비슷하기 때문에 확실히 전략이나 플레이적으로 도움이 진짜 많이 되는 것 같아요.
So my previous experience is really beneficial I mean, it's easy to carry over into Valorant. So when we make calls or make decisions in game, for me, it's very easy to use those skills I had from before into the shot calling within Valorant. So yeah.
Well, that brings us to the third and final map, and that's where I want to close. You guys put up 6 flawless rounds on Ascent, more than any other team throughout the day. In fact, double any other team. I'm curious if you feel that map 3 was the most accurate representation of NUTURN's ability, and if that's what we can expect to see in every round going forward.
3경기 그 어센트에서 6연속으로 무결점 라운드가 있었는데요. 다른 팀들의 오늘 다른 경기에 있었던 무결점 라운드보다 2배나 많았었어요. 그래서 이 라운드에서 이 맵에서 있었던 뉴턴의 실력이 어떻게 보면은 정확한 뉴턴의 실력을 보여주는 경기였다고 생각하시나요?
일단 저희가 1경기 때 긴장을 많이 해서 2경기 때 진짜 손이 다 풀렸거든요. 그래서 3경기 때 무조건 이겨야 된다 저희 선수들한테 말을 해줬고, 그리고 저희가 어센트 맵을 그렇게 잘하진 않지만 좋아해요. 그래서 약간 저희가 좀 분위기를 타서 상대방이 좀 뭐 말려서 그런 것 같기도 하고 저희가 잘해서 그런 것 같기도 하고 약간 좀 의아하긴 하네요. 네, 잘하긴 했어요 저희가. 네.
So after the first map, we were really nervous in the first map, and having finished that, we were warmed up and ready to go starting in map 2. And for map 3, Ascent is not really our favorite map, but we do enjoy playing it. And I think we were able to show what we prepared for, and Sharks played well, but I think we played better.
Well, an incredible turnaround and overall an incredible showing. Solo, I want to congratulate you here on your victory and moving on to face your next opponents. David, thank you so much for taking the time to help with the translations. From here, we're going back to Golden Boy and the analyst desk to close out the day.
Thank you so much, Dash, for that. Also, enjoy your hike over to the Blue Lagoon. You look very prepared for that. I just like his outfit, man. The jacket, I'm feeling it. You know, just got to keep it real. Yeah, well, you know,
Cozy.
Yeah, it is very cozy. It has to be cold in there as well. I can only imagine. So, Lothar, you know, we heard it from Solo and NUTURN. Very nervous coming out of that first game. Sharks certainly took advantage of that. And that's going to be a running theme throughout this entire competition, wouldn't you say so? Because each tier is going to come with a new challenge.
Yeah, and I would say that applies to every single team here in this tournament. The nerves, you know, playing against teams that you don't really know well, you are not really well prepared as for every single angle that can be taken by your opponents, right? There's so many pieces of the puzzle that might be missing still, right? So some meta choices, some plays that you didn't see before, like small stuff. Like an example from NUTURN, we have seen a double fake on an Omen teleport on Bind when Omen made the teleport, which sounded like a fake, but in the meantime, Breach with her soul just went into the teleport and just stayed there. Small things like that can catch someone off guard. You might not be prepared for that. This might throw a wrench into your mental state, so you're gonna be shook. And I feel like this LAN is a huge test for every single team, but at the same time, I feel like the expectations that we had for every team like set up were lower than what we actually see, which is amazing, right? Because we expected some teams to perform, most like, you know, the big names, but the smaller names, we didn't expect them to do so well, and they surprised us during the first day, which is a fantastic tell for the next days of this tournament.
Yeah, that's right. And as we wrap the day up, you know, Kilios, you know, I know you're going to be calling some of the matches tomorrow. I want to get your thoughts, though, on overall on the day, NUTURN's performance, but, you know, just the entirety of this one, because it's been awesome so far.
It really has been. I mean, it's been a long day. It's 8:30 a.m. over here in Korea, but I'm still wired, especially after that win. But it also, I mean, might have something to do with these, but those are all empty. But yeah, you know, it's been a fantastic day. We didn't know really what to expect. You know, Crazy Raccoon absolutely surprised. They gave us, you know, one of the most entertaining series that we've had so far. One of the most entertaining series I'd say that I've seen in a while, just kind of period. So I'm looking forward to seeing more from them. As well as the teams that we haven't yet seen, you know, with those upcoming matches tomorrow. So, you know, swapping from being on the desk over to being on the mic and bringing the cast alongside Paper Thin, I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, and Vel, final thoughts. Tomorrow, well, I wouldn't say, you know, we settle the score, but, you know, I mean, it's going down. NA versus EU. We're getting it tomorrow, man.
No, we're not getting it. NA is getting it. We're gonna see Fnatic go against Sentinels and then version 1 against Team Liquid. Those games are gonna be bangers, but there's something that we really didn't call out. We know the first elimination game. YNG Sharks versus Crew Esports.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fire right there. I can't wait till those two teams go to battle. But I also want to give Crazy Raccoons some love as well. Despite their not clutch post-plant situations, they could have won their series. So don't underestimate any of these teams because, like we saw last series, you never know what to expect. I'm excited for tomorrow.
That's right, man. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this wild ride today. It has been an absolute blast to work with each and every one of you. Some of you for the first time, some of you once again. Truly, the pleasure has been all mine. Thank you, guys. And for thank you so much. And from all of us here in the studio and those on the ground in Iceland, we want to thank you all so much for watching. Tune in tomorrow for more Masters 2 action. We'll see you then. Take it easy.
Player standing. One enemy remaining. Got one. Restam 30 segundos. Restam 30 segundos.